Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. As the screen suggests, I'm Jan Bailey, Director of the Lancaster County Early Intervention Program for Birth to 3. I want to thank everybody for joining us this morning. I'm seeing this as the relaunch of the NOWS Coalition, version 3.0. And so there's a lot of great information to follow, and we're going to be talking about our journey and plans of safe care. We're going to do a program spotlight. We're going to talk about survey results, get some closing remarks, and then move to what's next. So to begin, I do want to thank Chris Glover with Joining Forces for Children for spearheading this conversation. And as we move into our meeting this morning, you will discover that she is going to be spearheading many of our efforts to keep the coalition moving forward and vibrant and bringing it all together for us. So just a few housekeeping comments. Today, this event, as you can see, is being hosted by the platform Blue Jeans. Since it is an event platform, the way in which we will communicate is through a chat box. And if you could take the next moment or two to go into the chat box and let us know who you are and who you're representing, that would be awesome, so that we can collect that information and make sure that as we move forward, we have the opportunity to keep you engaged and informed, and you'll be, present at all that moves forward. So here we are, and let's get this. Let's get started. So we're here today, and this would be the next slide. We're here today as the result of the Healthy Mothers, Healthy Babies Coalition's legislative breakfast, which was held back in the fall of 2018, October 5th to be exact. And it was an incredible event. And as I recall, and my memory is one of the event, the welcoming comments, how one of the very first most deafening situations or videos that was played was that of the shrill cry and discomfort of a newborn in withdrawal. And it was haunting, it was chilling, and to this day, I so vividly remember all of it. The audience was filled with a cross-section of disciplines and professionals. We had healthcare systems from Penn Medicine to WellSpan to UMPC Pinnacle Union Community, who was then Lancaster Health Center. We had neonatologists and nurses, community leaders, legislators, individuals representing child welfare, children and youth, behavioral health, early intervention. It was just government, community leaders, etc. It was a really exciting event, and you could feel the momentum in the room, that and the energy as we all came together and were, as I said, initially impacted by that cry, that baby, that discomfort, the haunting sound of its withdrawal impact, and the program. It was a cry for help. Are you listening? And so in many ways, it was a call to everybody in the audience to step forward and to want to have a stake in the game, to do something. At that time, we had key stakeholders who were taking the podium and telling the audience how their practice, how their organizations, what they were doing in response as individual entities and individuals in supporting, moms with substance use disorder and babies with neonatal abstinence syndrome. And then the crescendo, so to speak, the call to action. And it was harnessing that collective energy and the collective will and the collective good of all who were in attendance to say, let's not just end today with walking away with more knowledge. Let's utilize that knowledge and do something that will have an impact within our community. And so in and so there lies the formation of the NOWS Coalition. Next slide, please. So the journey. I selected this graphic because on so many levels, it represents to me the road, the pathways that we've taken to get here today. And as you can see, there are quite a few. And as we all know of the saying that all roads lead somewhere. And so, as I mentioned, the roads that we've taken lead us here today with all of you. In our journey, we've had the opportunity to gain new partners, to develop new insights, and to develop opportunities each and every step of the direction, even though it's probably been about 3 years in the making. But going back to those initial organizing efforts, again, with the call to action from the legislative breakfast to our first meeting in November of 2018, and about 30 people came together and we began to discuss, so here we are, how do we want to move forward? What kind of structure do we want to put in place? And what are the common interests that we all share? And of course, right at the top of the agenda or the interests were the education and awareness and resources and connecting moms and their babies with the agencies and community organizations that can and systems that can really support them on their journey. And it was at that meeting that the co-chairs were identified, and that was Mary Steffi, who was the manager of the Penn Medicine's Community Health and Wellness, and me. So one of the decisions that we made at that time was let's hold a training so that we can bring people together so that they can have an understanding of some of the pieces that we're beginning to build to support what it is for a baby in the NICU who is withdrawing, what it means for just for maternal attachment and bonding. And so we held that in February. And we were moving along slowly. Admittedly, both Mary and I were pulled in so many directions just with our positions and our jobs that we really came together and realized that we wanted this effort to thrive. And so to do that, we really were looking to engage a partner who could join us and come alongside of us and provide some of the administrative support that we needed to help develop strategy, to support us in looking for funding. And so we began to engage in conversations with the Partnership for Public Health and talking with Susan Baldridge and getting her on board. She began to have conversations with some of her board members, and they had interest. And so we were invited to present before the partnership's board of directors, and we went and met with them. And what I could see across the room of their board, in the faces of all their members, was this want and this desire to step in and become a partner with us and to take on the NOWS Coalition and really support us in the work that we were doing. So it wasn't surprising that when we received notification hours later that their board was fully in agreement and wanted to join us as our partners. And so we kind of formed a new executive committee, and we recruited Dr. Faral Virani, who was a neonatologist involved with WellSpan, Robin Boyer, Mary Steffi, Susan Baldridge, and I would be meeting to define direction and to bring all of all of us together and to kind of sort through the multiple layers involved in doing this work. And so we were moving along, and we held some meetings. We met often as a small committee to kind of chart our way. We also had a bigger presentation over at the suburban campus, of which many of you attended. And again, we were gaining this momentum and really feeling as though we were getting back. That would be version 2.0. So we were there, we were meeting, we were excited about what we could do. I know that Susan at the time was working on getting funding applications submitted, and so there was a lot of behind the scenes work, but it was important work that was moving us in the direction of being able to sustain and fund our efforts. And we were also looking at working with a social media public campaign group that was hoping to support us. Of course, that too required money. And then things were percolating and moving along. And then guess what happened? We move into 2020. And then, as we all know, COVID hit. And instead of being that 2-week, 3-week kind of wave, and then we'd all get back to normal, as you all know, we didn't. And I know that many of us turned internally to our own organizations as we were looking to figure out how we were going to function in this new world with COVID and learn a virtual environment and start, meeting with our, the people that we serve and our key constituents, et cetera, through a virtual platform. So we lost sight of the work of the NOWS Coalition just because we were so focused on, working internally to do what we needed to do within our own organizations. And then January 2021 comes around, and we learned that Susan Baldridge with the partnership was retiring. We learned that Dr. Durrani was moving to Michigan. And then we received notice that Mary Steffi was retiring in April of 2021. So that left Robin, Dawn, Horst, and I kind of looking and saying, what do we do next? Where do we go? And, the answer was pretty obvious to us. And so we turned to Chris and the Joining Forces group. And Chris, if you could go to the next slide. The best part about where we are today is that we all have relationships with Chris, and she's been doing a fabulous job with Joining Forces for Children. And when we looked at where do we go, and what can we do, and is there still a desire to bring people together? And that answer certainly is a resounding yes, because so many of us are working on supporting, moms with substance use disorder, supporting families, supporting the newborns, the everybody who's part of the story and who is living, in need of supports and understanding and services and resources. So, as I said, we turned to Joining Forces and we began talking with Chris and, the Joining Forces for Children, their mission is supporting the youngest victims of the opioid crisis and working in collaboration with community partners to increase awareness of and access to services for children impacted by substance use disorder and addiction. And obviously that was music to our ears, a match made in service, and we could see total alignment. So the alignment piece was there. Obviously the vision of Joining Forces for Children so beautifully aligns with the work and priorities that the NOWS Coalition has. The foundation is strong and vibrant, and in fact the structure that has been created, the foundation that has been created, is really a gift in that we can also move forward and piggyback on the impressive body of work that Joining Forces for Children has accomplished in such a small time. I'm thinking it's been about 2 years. Chris, you can always correct me if I'm wrong. But in that time, the collaborative work that has been done by Joining Forces for Children, the PSAs, the messaging, the handle with care, initiative, the family advocate that's been brought on to work with families, the resource directory, impressive resource directory, and the toolkits that have been provided just make for the perfect match. And it's a model of collaboration with the existing structure, with existing partners, the relationships that Chris and her team have on so many levels. And certainly what I appreciate about what joining forces brings is for children is that the focus is on collective impact and the greater good and the many partners, and wrapping our arms around the babies and infants and toddlers and preschoolers and children who are victims of the opioid crisis, and the trauma-informed lens that is used. And obviously, it's just a perfect fit. And I hope that you can appreciate my enthusiasm for what it is that excites, I'm sure, just not me, but all of us who've been working at this and on this and doing so with heart and soul. And now, to bring it under, as I call it, version 3.0, and finding a home. And so, next slide, please. So, when I talk about collective impact, this is where I see us going. It's to build upon the muscle of collaboration and create a community and movement intentional in its collective approach to support moms with substance use disorder and babies with prenatal drug exposure. And we do that together. And I know that there have been many groups of us out there working on this. And, as I was kind of like just charting all of us who hopefully can come together under the NOWS Coalition and with Joining Forces for Children, we've been working with the NICUs of all of the hospitals and the social workers and children and youth and the Plans of Safe Care group that's done some phenomenal work. And we've been, it's been STEPS and Healthy Beginnings Plus and Nurse Family Partnership and Renew. We've had Early Intervention, Proud, Parents as Teachers, CHOP. There's just so many of us who are doing this work. And, what I believe still does exist, and I've seen it in all of you who've come together time and time again to show up, to do the work, to have the conversation, to continue moving through all the variations and forms and jumping on the roads that are leading to something that we all can take away in what has been built, is to really come together and harness that the momentum that we have, and to keep building and moving forward with the commitment and the optimism that we're making an impact, that we're changing lives, that we're reducing stigma, and that we're empowering our families. So with that, I'm just thrilled to be here. And I do want to give just a special acknowledgement, because along this journey that I talk about, there have been some core partners who do keep showing up. And I just, would like to acknowledge who they are. And if I forget anybody, please forgive me. But Robin Boyer, obviously Mary Steffi, Farrell Durrani, Dr. Farrell Durrani, Susan Baldridge, Dawn Horst, Linda Gort, and Mary Cunningham. And I'm sure there have been many, many others, but certainly I'm just grateful for having been being in the position to work with each and every one of you, to see your commitment, to see your heart, and to see your motivation in showing up and working to move us forward and create a more streamlined approach to supporting our families and our babies. So that's it for me.
Great, thanks, Jan. If anyone has any comments or questions, we would invite you to share those with us in the chat box. We do have a few minutes set aside after sort of each segment this morning to take a few minutes to answer any questions that may come up, or kind of respond to any comments that you might have. So we would invite you to do that chat box this morning. And I'm excited.
Hey, Chris, can I just own the mic one final
Please.
acknowledgement? One final acknowledgement. This is a person who's been the source of inspiration for me. She has educated me. She has moved me to tears. She's been at the table, and she has really been key in helping my understanding and building, I'm sure not only mine, but everybody's commitment and passion for the work that we're doing. And that would be Melinda Reyes. Awesome. She puts herself out there day in and day out to do hard work and to be a connector for all of us to our families and children.
Thanks, Jan. Well worth passing the microphone back for sure.
Thanks.
And not forget to acknowledge Melinda's hard work. We have Robin echoing your comments about Melinda, and Linda Gort saying, thanks, Jan. I love the muscle of collaboration, and despite COVID, the work has gone on. And Melinda is thanking everyone and sharing her love, as she often does. She's got more love than most folks, and she shares it freely, and that is one of the things that I personally appreciate about her. Okay, so as questions and thoughts come up, please continue to share those in the chat box with us. And just to kind of keep the momentum going this morning, I'm going to invite Cindy Horning from Children and Youth to tell us a bit about plans of safe care. Cindy.
Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone can hear me well. I have been asked to do a presentation about plans of safe care with Lancaster County Children and Youth. Chris, you're going to scroll through mine? Okay, next slide. So plans of safe care are about protecting babies and supporting the caregivers. We're all familiar with the law change. Next slide. So neonatal abstinence syndrome, NAS, it's a group of conditions caused when a baby withdraws from certain drugs, most often opioids, exposed to in the womb before birth. Withdrawal symptoms could include tremors, excessive sneezing, diarrhea, excessive crying or irritability, yawning, tight muscle tone, and difficulty sleeping. NAS may lead to long-term health and developmental problems, including hearing and vision problems, and problems with learning and behavior. I do just want to point out some of the symptoms of withdrawal. The symptoms that the babies experience are the same that adults experience with the withdrawal symptoms. And some of these I wasn't aware of until I started this work. And again, Melinda, because she deserves a shout out. She's taught me a lot about what the withdrawal symptoms look like. Obviously, we know that they're measured at the hospital, but I think it's important because a lot of us just think that withdrawal symptoms I think we miss some of these symptoms. A lot of people, I think it's the irritability and the diarrhea, but that sneezing is also something that's very important that we ask parents about their babies. Are they experiencing the sneezing? Because that's not one that I was familiar with until I started this work. Next slide. It looks a little funny on my screen. So there we go. On June 28th, 2018, Governor Tom Wolf signed Act 54 of 2018, updating the Pennsylvania law consistent with CAPTA to require healthcare professionals, including those involved in the delivery or care of an affected infant or encountering an infant up to age 1 outside a hospital setting, notify the Pennsylvania Department of Human Services so that a plan of safe care can be developed. State law stipulates that this notification by healthcare providers shall not constitute a child abuse report. Lancaster County Children and Youth Agency has developed a plan of safe care committee to develop what should be included on the plans and updates. This committee meets bi-monthly. I think it's important. The reason why it has in there shall not constitute a child abuse report. These don't come in as a Child Protective Services allegation. It comes in as a report with information. And then we as a county decide if we're going to screen it in to be assessed. Other counties are not doing what Lancaster County is doing. If it is a prescribed medication, such as methadone, some of the other counties are not screening those cases in, just so everybody on the team is aware. Different counties handle it differently than we do. Go ahead, Chris. So these are the members of the Plan of Safe Care Committee. I'm sure you're familiar with a lot of them. They are on this meeting as well. Robin Boyer at Lancaster County Children and Youth. Maria Delgado, she's a social worker at Women and Babies Hospital. Melissa Zilhart is a Lancaster County solicitor. Marilury Schickel is a social worker through WellSpan Ephrata. Amanda Malenga is also a social worker through WellSpan Ephrata. Kira Scott, she's a social worker at UPMC in Lidditz. Myself, Melinda Reyes, she's the recovery specialist from the RACE project that we've already talked about. Brittany Hershey is another social worker at WellSpan Ephrata. Jamie Berry is another social worker at Ephrata. Dawn Horst, of course, a social work supervisor for Healthy Beginnings Plus, and Angela Schreck, early intervention director of support coordinator. Go ahead. So the steps for completing the plan of safe care, first off, a report is made to Childline. This is, every hospital kind of handles it differently. If it is a Healthy Beginnings patient, the Healthy Beginnings social worker makes that report. Sometimes Maria makes the report at Women and Babies. The other social workers make that report to Childline. It comes through, and then a caseworker is signed. And in Lancaster County, that caseworker is myself. Then the caseworker, myself, meets with the mother and the child. And Melinda goes with me to those visits to the hospital where we discuss the referral and services and just the family situation at that point. The plan of safe care is then completed, and a copy of the plan of safe care is sent to early intervention after that has been finalized. Early intervention also gets the discharge summary from these hospitals for these babies. Next slide. So when is a plan of safe care completed? It is completed when a newborn experiences withdrawal symptoms due to exposure. This exposure could be from illegal substances, or it could be from the medical assisted treatment. And this exposure could also be from certain mental health medications. I'm sure everyone's familiar with the medical assisted treatment. It is the methadone and Subutex. Sometimes women are on Suboxone. I had a mom that was on Sublocade. Typically, they prefer that they're on methadone and Subutex, but we have seen some other substances. Next slide. We obviously get referrals for all substances. So some of the other substances we may be contacted about are methamphetamines, amphetamines, cocaine, marijuana, and alcohol. We have seen an increase in cocaine more recently in Lancaster County, and methamphetamine has kind of been around as well. We've also seen an increase in methamphetamine use with our mothers. So reports are again also made to Childline. I'm meeting with these individuals at the hospital for the substances. Marijuana substance, those reports, I'm seeing them in the home usually after the baby is born, but the other substances, we're typically meeting with them in the hospital. And again, Melinda goes with me for those visits. Families assessed and services are provided. With these substances, babies are discharged a few days after birth. They are not monitored for any length of time with these other substances. Some symptoms include jitteriness, crying, and difficulty eating. Sometimes a safety plan is implemented or placement may occur depending on the circumstances, and then referrals are made to early intervention for these substances as well. I've had some babies experience the jitteriness and difficulty eating, and then they weren't drug screened, or mother wasn't drug screened, and so the behavior then dictates that they then screen the baby and find out that they have been exposed to substances. That's happened before. So when we're working with the families and we complete the plan of safe care, there's a folder that we've put together. Robin has worked with our interns and with the agency, and so we have a whole packet of information in the folders that we give. So these are the items that we are in the plan of safe care. There's the mother's plan of safe care, the infant's plan of safe care. There's a summary Lancaster County plan of safe care / family support plan. There's a consent to release confidential information. And our committee has worked hard that release of information is a universal release for providers in the community. It's not just the typical Lancaster County release. It also includes drug and alcohol providers, medical professionals, PCPs, those types of things. It's a pretty thorough release of information. It also contains the plan of safe care / family support plan. There's an early intervention pamphlet and information provided. There's joining forces information. There's that joining forces resource directory that Jan talked about earlier. And then we also include a family group conference pamphlet in the folders that we give to the moms. So the mother's plan of safe care, it has the family name, case number, children's name and suffixes, and the date of the plan. We start out with the strengths. We list the mother's strengths, and then we list the concerns that mother has. And these are collaborative, so we're going over these with the mom while we're completing these documents. So we ask the mom specifically for the strengths that she has and also for concerns. There is information that is provided for the health, mother's PCP, those types of individuals. There is a space for substance use prevention, treatment, and behavioral health. There's a box for family support and also responsible persons completing the plan of safe care and involved in the plan of safe care. Next. And then there's an infant's plan of safe care, and it's the same, very similar to mother's plan of safe care. Again, family name, case number, child's name, suffixes, and date of plan. Again, we list strengths, which I know sometimes is difficult with newborn babies because it sometimes feels like there's not a lot of strengths, but we will often list, if they are a younger child, we'll list that as a strength that they have older siblings. If they're eating well or if they respond to mom's voice, there's often a lot of strengths that we are able to list for newborns. And then the concerns are again listed. We also list their health information, who their PCP is, safety, if there's any safety plans involved, their development, which is usually early intervention, and then responsible persons again. And typically the responsible persons listed are myself, Melinda, and the social workers that are involved. Once the plan of safe care is completed, the mother's provided a copy of the mother's plan and the child's plan. If the child's in a resource home, the resource parents were given a copy of the child's plan of safe care. And then a copy is also sent to early intervention and a copy is filed in the record. A couple things that I review with every single parent that I work with. And keeping in mind that my caseload is all babies under a year old. A lot of I go over these with the moms, and a lot of this stuff is covered at the hospital too, but I go over it for my own purposes. That obviously we all know babies are supposed to sleep on their back. I still go over that with parents because it's just nice to have that extra education. Never shake or squeeze their babies. The dangers of co-sleeping, which again, I know is covered in the hospital, but I reiterate that, especially if there's any kind of substances involved. And I warn them of the dangers of if something happens and you're sleeping with your baby and you have a substance in your system, the consequences of that. Melinda and I have also started covering postpartum depression because we've seen an increase with this population in postpartum depression with these moms, which is often leading to relapse. So that's something we also cover. And then I also talk about Melinda and her services that are provided. And of course, early intervention is also covered in the services and that a referral will be made to them. Well, just some cute pictures of kids. And then I think the last slide is the question one. Yep. All right, so I went through that kind of fast. Does anybody have any questions about the plan of safe care for Lancaster County?
I wanted just to add that for Lancaster County Children and Youth, we decided to take a broader approach than other counties. I think Cindy mentioned that other counties, each one had the ability to handle things their own way. And we decided that we wanted to go broader and pick up those moms with the methadone and Suboxone and those type of drugs, because we realize and acknowledge that there's just equal amount of stressors on those moms as the other moms, and that having the birth, having a baby, and going through that stress and having babies that are equally as fussy as the NAS babies, it can lead to relapse. So we felt it was important to acknowledge that and to recognize that, and to provide the same type of supports to those moms. We also felt, and Crystal Natan, our executive director, supported the decision that we have one dedicated caseworker so that the hospital is familiar with that same caseworker and develops a really strong working relationship versus having 10, 15 different caseworkers coming out to the hospitals. We felt that for the providers, it was better just to see one person and to form a relationship with that one person. And we also had the ability to start working with these moms prenatally. So a lot of counties wait until after the birth, and we felt that that was a missed opportunity. If we can start working with these moms prenatally, then they're going to the hospitals with a much more solid plan of what's going to happen. Because if you think about it, think about a mother who's using or a mother who's on methadone, and that they know that they're going to have possibility of losing their child, having children and youth come out after birth. Those mothers are much more calm and kind of together when they deliver because they already know the plan. Something's already in place. If there's concerns about a parent's ability to parent, they already know that up front, and we've already taken steps to work with that mom and developing a plan of what's going to happen at the birth. And I think the outcomes has been much better for that population. Thanks.
Thanks, Robin. Cindy, Dr. Martin has shared that your presentation has been very helpful, specifically to hear what you're talking to families about in the hospital so that any subsequent providers can build upon the information and education that you're providing. And I think that's a great point, right? That through all of this sharing and connectivity that we're working towards, ultimately it's going to be most beneficial for the folks that we're trying to serve and help them maintain their health, right? Any other questions or comments for Cindy about plans of safe care? Is that awkward time where you have to figure out how long is long enough in a virtual platform for folks to type or type. Mary Cunningham is sharing, thank you for that information, and is asking what happens after discharge. Who and how often do the moms receive any follow-up support?
So every family is different. Every situation is different. So depending on the needs, after the baby has been discharged from the hospital, I go out to the home and meet with the moms in the home. And if it's our MAT moms that are stable or have been in recovery for a length of time, then I'm able to close those cases. For some of the moms that need extra support, I go out. Every family is different. Some of my families I go out every week, and some of my families it's every other week. And then we continue to follow up and make sure that they have the support and the services that they need. Referrals if they need it. Melinda will go with me to the home visits after we've been at the hospital if we feel like the mom could use some extra support. And then we make referrals that are needed if they need anything. And if not, then we are closing those cases if they have everything in place already.
Great. Dawn is thanking you, Cindy and Robin. Your involvement and planning during the pregnancy has shown tremendous outcomes and reduced stress for the families. That's a great point, Dawn, because, stress is oftentimes something that can be difficult for individuals with substance use disorder to cope with. If they don't have those healthy coping strategies, they do stay or go back to those unhealthy behaviors. That's a great point, that we have that opportunity to be more proactive and preventative. Dawn is also asking about medical marijuana. Can you share thoughts about a report for someone with a medical marijuana card?
I'm going to step in on that one. So we actually have Cindy go out on all of the marijuana mothers, the ones that are testing positive, both for medical marijuana and non-medical marijuana. Joining Forces for Children developed a really nice brochure and handout for those moms, talking about cannabis, talking about the medical marijuana, and Cindy gives the same spiel to those mothers about, using medical marijuana, co-sleeping, the dangers of all of that. We also make referrals to Joining Forces family advocate for those moms, so that that person can kind of follow up and provide that additional support. Those cases, unless there's other child welfare concerns, are typically closed on our end after that one-time visit.
I would like to also really quick point out for the follow-up, WellSpan has the Foundations program that will work with these mothers. And then, of course, Healthy Beginnings Plus has the STEPS programs for the opioid use disorder mothers to participate in their program as well. So there are other community involvements after they leave the hospital.
That's a good point, Cindy. Kind of building on what Jan was kind of teeing us up for this morning, was all the collaboration that we have. We are very fortunate in Lancaster County to have a lot of supportive services, and it's pretty neat to be able to have so many options to share with the folks that we're serving. Linda Gort is sharing, and Cindy makes sure that moms and babes are in care and keeping up with care in a really supportive way. That's a great point. It's super important, particularly for this population. And Melinda shared that she stays with families for a year, tracks them for a year. And Linda Gort is also sharing the website Mother to Baby has an excellent fact sheet on cannabis, and that she is giving it to all moms with medical marijuana cards so they are aware, but we support them for their decisions. Yeah, it's an incredibly individualized thing and not at all straightforward. So I appreciate everybody taking sort of an individualized approach. Any other questions about plans of safe care before we move on? All right, then Rob and I will pass it back to you to talk a little bit about the plans of safe care funding.
Perfect. So I just wanted to talk briefly about an opportunity that Children and Youth Agencies has in Pennsylvania. There are grants now available directly to children and youth to deal with plans of safe care. So Lancaster County has the ability to apply for $50,000 annually for 2 years for any needs that we have around plans of safe care. So as an agency, we've met and made some decisions, and we'll be really focusing on a population that we've had difficulty reaching, and that is the PCPs. It's pediatricians, it's all the OB doctors. We work really closely with Healthy Beginnings at this time with all the different practices, but we're really missing the ability to reach out to private OBs and doctors who have a large populations of moms. So we'll be working this year and applying for a grant and connecting with Chris and Joining Forces to work on kind of a mass media campaign, developing pamphlets that are geared to PCPs, to pediatricians, and to OBs, talking about the importance of these conversations and then providing trainings. So the first year is kind of working on TV campaigns and pamphlets, and then the second year of the grant will be working with providing some of that education to the community. So I just wanted to say that's, for us, extremely exciting. It's a very broad grant of that $50,000 that we can actually develop and use as we feel the needs of Lancaster is. So I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention. So you'll be hearing more about that and seeing some of the pamphlets that are designed and provided. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. Any questions about the anticipated funding that will be coming through to do some education and kind of get more folks participating in plans of safe care? Questions about that? Okay. Not seeing any, we'll keep things moving. So when Jan and Robin and Dawn and I were working behind the scenes to map out what this morning was going to look like, we thought that it could be quite beneficial to give everyone an opportunity over a period of time to share a little bit about their program, their services, and how other partners can make referrals, which folks are eligible, and all that kind of good stuff, so that we can really, build relationships with each other and, serve our folks as best we all can. So we're going to have Jen Strassenberg from the Renew program at Bethany Christian Services kick us off with this presentation today. And at every future meeting, we'll have at least one or maybe two program spotlights. So if you're super excited about that and you'd like to be next, let me know as we kind of plan out those future meetings. We'll schedule those. More to come on that, and I will pass it to Jen to tell us about Renew.
All right. Good morning, everybody. And are you going to put up the slide, or do you want me to, Chris?
I already have it up, Jen. I'm happy to move it for you.
Oh, I just see the program spotlight slide. Maybe other people see something different. There we go. So Renew is recovering mothers with newborns. I know from seeing people's names pop up that a lot of you I already work with, but there's probably a few that don't know about Renew. It's I'm the women's advocate with the Renew program at Bethany. And I started taking clients in April of 2019, but we started the program at Bethany in December of 2018. So it's, a relatively new program. And I work with the Proud group. And I'll talk a little bit more about the Renew collaboration, but trying to pull in and work with any providers in Lancaster County that touch this population of women in recovery. The other piece of Renew that is even more specialized is that I work with women that are involved in the criminal justice system. I usually always start with them when they're in prison. When a woman goes into Lancaster County Prison, she is immediately given a pregnancy test. So quite often they find out that they're pregnant and weren't aware of that. And so if they are pregnant, they're given information about the Renew program, and they get to decide whether they want to hear a little bit more about that. Pre-COVID, I was able to go in and meet with any woman that said she was interested in hearing a little bit more about the Renew program. But now I do that through the counselors at the prison. I do a phone intake with them, which is definitely, as many of you have probably experienced, trying to build a trusting relationship over the phone is extremely hard. But still trying to reach all of those women that come into Lancaster County Prison that have a history of substance use, are pregnant, and now involved in the criminal justice system. I have had some referrals coming from probation and parole. So again, that they're involved with the justice system in hopes that possibly they can stay out of prison with some supports in the recovery community, as well as with connecting with all their prenatal care. But I do work closely with Linda Gort, who does the prenatal work through the prison, or for the prison, I should say. But that's the specific population. They have to be pregnant, involved in the justice system, and have a history of substance abuse. It is any substance use, whether that's alcohol, marijuana, or opioids, cocaine, any substance use. And it doesn't have to be current substance use. It usually is, but if they've recently moved into recovery, that's okay as well. But a history of substance abuse. You can go on to the next slide. And so I work with a maximum of 15 women at a time. It's intensive case management, very specialized in trying to get them connected to supports in the recovery community, as well as their prenatal support, and then just all of the social services that they can be connected to as well, trying to work as sort of the hub and connector to all of those community resources. But I do only work with up to 15 women at a time. I speak to them once a week, and I see them face to face once a month at the very minimum. Some clients I end up talking to almost every day, but at a minimum, I'm checking in with them at least once a week. And I start with them as early as possible in their pregnancy. Sometimes they're coming into prison and just have found out that they're pregnant. Sometimes it's pretty far along in their pregnancy, and I don't turn them away. It's just better the earlier I can get to them. And then I stay with them through their release from prison, and then all the way through the first year of the baby's life. And our goals are to work on reducing recidivism, reducing reoffending, working with probation and parole to look at, and as well as children and youth and any other agencies that they're working with, to look at those goals that those agencies have and incorporate that into the case management, so that they stay on track with any requirements that they have that are legal and or for their children. And by helping to coordinate these community resources, we're seeing that they're more likely to follow through with prenatal care if we're able to, access some transportation help for them. But just trying to connect with all those resources to keep them on track. Next slide. And one of the most powerful things that we have at our disposal is this Renew Collaborative. Many of you that are on this call are already part of this collaborative, and it is so helpful to be able to call on these community providers to solve problems. We have all the key players, so when an issue arises, we can usually take care of things really pretty quickly by collaborating with one another. And so Robin Boyer is part of that from Children and Youth. Melinda, of course, is part of that, and many, many others, probation and parole. So we can, address things very, very quickly. But that's really been the strength and the beauty of the Renew program, is being able to pull together our partners and problem solve across agencies, and really truly be aware of what support is out there, and problem solve in real time. So that's one of the best things about our program. Next. So like you can see here, the enrollment has really been, I've started with people when I have 3 graduates today that we're celebrating in the Renew program, and one I started with when she was about 6 weeks pregnant, And one of the other ones I started with when she was 7 months pregnant. So really that timeline varies, but the longer I have to work with her before delivery, oftentimes the better the relationship and the more successful we can be in that trusting relationship to help her access all of those supports and really have a successful year. And I do end case management at that 1 year mark, but the goal by the time she graduates is to be connected with ongoing community support so that she's not just cut off from case management, but she's now utilizing all of those supports on her own. Next slide. So that's Renew in a nutshell. I'm sure that there's, I could go on all day about all the different things that all the challenges these women face and all the great things that these community partners have done, but I'd be glad to answer any questions anyone has. And there is only one case manager or women's advocate, and that's me right now. We are always looking for new funding. Bethany is really very proactive in looking for funding so that hopefully one day we'll have a second women's advocate. We also are looking to start a community side of Renew so that they wouldn't have to have the criminal justice piece there, that we would be able to take referrals for moms with substance use issues and just pregnant, so that we could offer that community side of Renew and not have the qualification of the criminal justice side of things.
That's exciting news, Jen. Is there any like rough timeline on when Bethany would hope to have funding to be able to roll that out?
I think that we're looking at a couple grants that hopefully in the next couple months we'll hear back on that. But yeah, I don't have any specifics. But it's definitely, we did start a Renew program in South Dakota, and they're also looking at beginning a program in the Pittsburgh area, because we have Bethany offices across the nation and are looking to expand the Renew program into those areas. And but I think we'll see the community side of it in the next year.
That's awesome. And congratulations, Jen, because I know that you played a large role in this program being developed and happening, and to hear that it's being replicated in other places after starting in Lancaster that's pretty groovy. So kudos to you and congrats.
Oh, thank you. It's really exciting. Bethany has really grown this program and made it pretty awesome. And I love working with all of you guys. And you know, if I am not currently working with you and you think that there would be a way to collaborate, please let me know and we'll get you going on the collaborative.
Awesome. We are stronger together for sure. And so, you know, I also participate in Jen's collaborative meetings, and I do appreciate the data that Jen tracks and really understanding, you know, the outcomes that the folks that she's working with are experiencing, and it's pretty neat to see. So I'm excited as Renew ages to see how folks do over an extended period of time. We have a guest who is saying, "Way to go, Jen, what a life-changing program." Not sure who that is. It's coming through as guest. That's awesome. Okay, any other questions, comments for Jen about Renew? Okay, thanks, Jen. So now I'm going to pass it to myself to tell you a little bit about the survey results. Along with the invitation to join us this morning, there was a link to participate in a survey. Again, this was really Robin's idea to kind of just recalibrate and see where things are, particularly after, you know, such a strange and unusual year, to really understand kind of where things are and what folks are experiencing and what's needed. So I'm just going to kind of share back with you, and then I have some questions for you to further gain some knowledge for myself and the group. But first, wanted to take a minute to thank all of the organizations that had representatives who participated in the survey. Just looking at that, again, Jen mentioned collaboration, and Cindy talked about all the folks that she partners with, she and Melinda, and Jan really teed us up for collaboration. And so, just sitting here looking at all of these logos just really is pretty awesome. The strength, the expertise, the varied skills and knowledge that we're all bringing to this virtual table is super exciting, and I'm super excited that moms and kiddos and families just benefit from that so much. Okay, stepping off that soapbox. So from this survey, we had a mixture of kind of programs, perspectives, knowledge sets shared. So just kind of sharing that we have a continuum sort of folks who were participating in the survey. And one of the questions asked about what are some of the barriers to accessing services that you are noticing in your patients, your clients, your participants. And so a variety of things were shared. I'm sure many of them were not a surprise to you and have been ongoing barriers pre-pandemic and post-pandemic. Many of them will continue to be barriers for the folks that we're serving. And so while there are many spaces where folks are tackling different pieces and components of all of these things, I think that this collaborative group can also kind of add some weight to many of those efforts as well. If there are other things, if you were not able to participate in the survey and there are other things as sort of we share this, feel free to put those in the chat box, and I'll be sure to kind of compile that and share all of this with you. My hope is that this information can be valuable for everybody, whether you're working on an annual report or applying for funding or just kind of sharing with a group of stakeholders, that anything that we're sharing and compiling that would be useful to folks in that way. So keep that in mind. We also asked what's going well, and so despite the pandemic, there is certainly a lot of stuff to celebrate about Lancaster County, and so folks were mentioning specific programs, talking about collaborations and relationships, and certainly we hope to build on all of these things and really find what's working well, that list to grow over time. And pretty awesome. So give yourself a round of applause and a pat on the back. If I was with you, I'd give you a high five or a fist bump, because we're doing some really great things and things are going really, really well. Even though it may not always feel like it, just take a moment and kind of take a deep breath and that round of applause. We are doing some incredible things. Through this survey, folks who participated also kind of helped us narrow down kind of 4 areas where everybody's sort of in agreement that this group could focus on and really help kind of move the needle forward, so to speak. And so talking about increasing access to parenting support and education, increasing communication among community-based service providers. Hopefully we're doing a little bit of that this morning and setting the stage for more of that to come. Increased communication with healthcare providers. I think Robin alluded to some of that through the plans of safe care work, but I would be interested in understanding kind of what other ways and opportunities folks are looking for. And then really doing like a gaps analysis or a needs assessment. And so certainly I think that this survey that we put out is a springboard for that. And kind of another springboard for that, I'm going to do a little tech wizardry here and stop sharing that screen and share another screen. I have a few kind of polling questions that I would like to ask you this morning. And so if you have ever participated in a Poll Everywhere poll before, you'll know that you can do this either in your web browser if you are on a computer. If you are not on a computer, then you can, I think maybe my tech wizardry thought I was doing so well. All right, let's try that again. So you can either participate via the website or your smartphone. And so if you are choosing to use your smartphone this morning, you would open up a new message app, like you're sending a text message to someone. And instead of in the space where you would list that individual's name, you would type the number 37607. And then in the body of that first message, you'll type JForces 891 and you'll send that. You'll get an automated message back that tells you that message and data rates do apply, and then you're then engaged in this conversation once you accept that, and then you can send another text kind of to answer the question. And so we're going to do a few of these this morning, again, sort of as some preliminary work for that gaps analysis and needs assessment. And so our warm-up question, if you will, is what parenting support and education opportunities already exist in Lancaster County? What are the assets that we already have when it comes to parenting, education, and support? And if you're just not feeling your tech wizardry skills this morning and you'd like to stay kind of just hanging out in the chat box, that is okay too. We have lots of options. Share your thoughts. Folks mentioning COBIs and STEPs, parents as teachers, plant the seed, nurse-family partnership, excellent. STEPs, early head start, mentoring parent when we can get back live. Linda, any timeline yet? Rough estimates about when centering parenting might be? App navigation, parents as teachers, beginnings, early intervention. Excellent, excellent. Lots of wonderful resources. I'm going to give you about 20 more seconds, then we'll move on to the next question. Hoping for centering parenting in the fall, limited to 6 months right now. Okay. More to come on that, it sounds like. Okay. So my next question is, what specific skills or knowledge are caregivers in need of? And it would be most helpful if you could focus on the things that you know are not currently being offered. Essentially trying to get to the gap. What is the gap? What skills or knowledge are parents and caregivers And please include kind of resource parents in that. What's missing? What are the opportunities? If you're in the web browser, it should automatically switch to that question for you. If you're in, participating on your phone and chatting, you just send another text message. Bonding and attachment, absolutely. Absolutely. Bonding exercise. Development. I'm assuming by development that we're meaning child development, kind of understanding those milestones and markers. If that's not what you mean, could let me know in the chat. That'd be helpful. Support from other moms like them. Absolutely. Prenatally, underlying mental health issues and accessing care, being knowledgeable about risks versus benefits of mental health meds. Yeah, it's incredibly complicated, isn't it? Child development. Okay. Ability to form social connections, in-home bonding and attachment. Excellent, excellent. Generational modeling of parenting skills, bonding. Excellent. Other than being open with CYS, those parenting resources aren't in the community that are offered through an open case. Okay, okay. That's good point. Good point. So being able to sort of have some of this programming available more universally, it sounds like. Okay, great. Okay, give you folks about 20 more seconds or so. Any other skills or specific knowledge that caregivers are in need of? Yes, protective factors. I myself am personally a huge fan of prevention, protective factors. So for me personally, you never have too much of that education and knowledge. Okay, great. My next question is, what are some reasons why caregivers are not accessing existing parenting support and education? What are some of the reasons why folks are choosing not to participate? They're overwhelmed. Sure, lots going on. Their thoughts about why folks are not accessing services. Just can't handle one more meeting. Mental health. Think they already know how to parent. Too many appointments. Okay. Stigma. Stigma is always at work. I joke, but I'm partly serious that stigma needs to take a vacation and an extended vacation. Absolutely. Always at work. The broader healthcare community can't easily access referrals in the midst of a well child visit. Stigma, overwhelmed, fear, no child care, transportation, virtual school has definitely added to the list of things that are challenging this year. I think we're all optimistic that next fall will look a little bit different for all of us. Access to adequate internet for telehealth sessions. Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see, what happens with some of the telemedicine work and how much of that is able to continue. Childcare, fear that children will be taken. Okay. Good, good. This is all excellent stuff, super helpful. I'm swirling with opportunities and ideas in my brain. I will definitely be following up with conversations with some of you individually or in small groups to better understand some of this and really kind of drill down even further on what the opportunities are. Stable residents. Oh, housing is definitely a struggle. Okay. And one of the things that we heard loud and clear was that folks were looking for increased communication among community-based service providers. And so I wanted to better understand what kind of communication are we looking for. And so I'm offering a few options. If these are not sort of what you're looking for, then please, share some other thoughts in the chat box. But are you looking for information about how the folks that you're serving can access other services, how to make that referral, sort of like who sends it, what's the process, what can your participant expect after the referral is made, or are you looking for sort of a increase in participation in this group or a more varied participation among this group? Is there a particular sector or kind of service provider that maybe is missing from this conversation that you feel needs to be here to enhance that communication and that relationship? What kinds of things are we looking for? Hearing so far that how individuals and families can access other services and how to make those referrals is another thing that folks are interested in. DPW and insurance issues. Yeah, that's definitely a tough one. Better communication between prenatal care providers, MAT doctors, psychiatrists, providers prescribing medications. Yeah, I agree, Melinda. And I think if anybody has particular ideas, I think we're all incredibly busy, and scheduling can, I think, oftentimes be the most challenging part. So if anybody has any, creative ideas about how to increase that connectivity and communication, I'm all ears. I have a few of my own, but certainly I want this to be a true collaborative effort where there is some give and take, and you folks have been working in this niche area longer than I have, I believe, and so definitely want to make sure that we're utilizing all the expertise that we have at this table. Okay. So it sounds like most folks are information about how individuals and families can access services, and so hopefully by having kind of these spotlights, we're able to help kind of naturally build some of that increased communication. Okay. And then in addition to OBGYNs, pediatricians, and primary care providers, are there other provider types that you're looking for increased communication with? And so I offered just a few that kind of came to my mind, but I'm curious also what you think. So do we need more connectivity to our colleagues in the mental health services field? Do we need more contact with folks who are providing substance use disorder treatment, whether that's inpatient, outpatient? Is it simply just like Melinda said, is it more connectivity to prescribers who are offering medications for opioid use disorder or other kinds of medically assisted recovery? Do we need more connection to recovery supports? Melinda is always available, but she is one woman. She does an awful lot. Do we need more Melindas? Do we need better connectivity with sober living or transitional living facilities? Are there other things that are on your mind? ARS, involve ARS in collaboration. Dawn, yes. And so, certainly if you are someone that has a relationship with folks in this area, I welcome you to tell them about this morning, tell them about this group, and invite them to get connected with us. Jan and I were chatting a bit yesterday and kind of about what's the magic frequency of engaging this group on an ongoing basis. And so we're feeling like initially we'll plan to meet every other month, pulling other folks together in between those meetings as needed to keep the momentum going and accomplish specific tasks or projects, but trying to strike that balance of kind of managing everybody's time and all their to-do lists. So you can expect that we will get together again in July. I will follow up after our meeting this morning with a survey to kind of narrow down what might be a good recurring meeting time, and invite you to share some additional information. Again, this polling that we've done this morning I'll be using as a springboard for that gaps analysis and kind of that needs assessment. And I'll be probably reaching out to many of you to ask some more questions as I work to put that together. If there's anybody who really loves needs assessments or gaps analysis, or you have something recently that you've done that you'd like to share that we can incorporate, that would be fantastic. That would be really super fantastic, in fact. So seeing lots more maternal fetal medicine, both Lancaster County providers. We do need more recovery specialists, dual diagnosed providers. We need more recovery treatment centers who are open to taking pregnant women. Yeah, that there is definitely some ongoing conversation for that. I know within our county and at the state level, and Linda is dittoing all of that. Yes. Okay. Great. Well, I thank you all very much for participating in the polling. And at this point, I'm going to stop sharing the poll, and I'm going to go back to our PowerPoint, and I'm going to pass the baton to Linda Gort to share some closing remarks with the group. So Linda, they're all yours whenever you're ready.
So many of you know that I have spent many of my prenatal care years working with our incarcerated pregnant persons. And in 2014, which is the first time I was collecting active data, 60% of those women were using primarily opiates. Last year, 92% of them were using opiates. So I feel that we have just gotten into such a really difficult bind. And for all of us, because we're working diligently in our fields, it's kind of draining and exhausting. I just participated in 3 days of trauma-informed care training with domestic violence services. And yesterday we ended talking about why we say, oh, they're manipulating me, when really manipulation is just what we've all used since birth as a way to get what we need. And it's something that works for us. And I really took that to heart because I almost texted our team and said, I'm tired of her manipulating us. And I was so glad I didn't do it in retrospect after that. But we all have weeks like I just had where one of our moms was released from prison and just disappeared into the ether. She has some pretty significant health issues, and we're really all concerned. We also had a mom who didn't get her labs, and her entrance into treatment is going to be delayed. And we had a mom who delivered at 35 weeks, quite a sick baby in another county where the information that we have is not easily available. It's available now, but it's not easily available. And we had a mom who did the right thing, went to rehab, left on medication, and I saw her the next day, but they sent her with no prescription, no prior authorization, and so we had to work out a lapse in medication. And this is day after day. So I know that this is what puts us in a sad place, but I want to tell you that every day in my heart, I look at moms and their babies, and sometimes couples and their babies. And I want to tell you about baby Christina, whose mom I first saw through prison, who has been abstinent since she was incarcerated almost 3 years ago, who is currently working in substance abuse field. And this is a little baby who knows Spanish, knows English, and loves reading. And I want to talk to you about another baby. Gracie's mom has been abstinent again since before she was born. She had an episode where the father of the baby came back saying he was abstinent, but it was not true. She did not relapse. She had a most horrible mastitis, and if I could have gotten Percocet on the street for that level of pain, I probably would have, and she did not. And I am so proud of those women who have made so many huge steps to become really, really good moms and to continue to work on their recovery. And I know that I am on a team with all of you who give your hearts and souls to recognize the privilege that we have in being able to do this care, and also to recognize that we have the gift to do this. So I just want to say thank you and say, hang in, we will do it. And Chris, I wish you could share. Can you share my screen? Can you do that?
Your video, or you have?
Oh, I don't know what's not on. Anyway, I'm holding my arm up for you to see a bracelet that I bought from Revolution Jewelry whenever they first got started that says "Be Fearless," because I think in doing this work, I wear this every day, and I feel that in doing this work, we need to be fearless to make these changes. And thanks, team, for all of the work that you're doing.
Thanks, Linda. I appreciate you, giving us an inspirational story and some cheerleading. We all need some cheerleading from time to time. So we are now right at 9:30, and so we do want to be respectful of your time. I will leave the chat box open for just a little bit longer. If you have any final thoughts, questions, comments that you'd like to share, feel free to enter those in there. Stay tuned for some information from me about upcoming meetings and next steps. And so we thank you all again for spending the morning with us.